Hey, Peter here with Unison, and welcome to part 3 of our 3-part series in which we're reconstructing the synths from Marshmello's track Stars using Marshmello Serum. Before we go any further, let's just check out the finished patches and A/B them against the reference. In this video, we're going to be reconstructing 2 of the lead patches. If you want to learn about the bass patches, then check out part 1. And to learn about the chords and plucks, check out part 2. Okay, let's start off with the saw lead. Okay, I'm going to start off by switching into mono, and we're just going to use Serum's default saw wave tables. We're going to turn oscillator A up by 1 octave, and then add oscillator B, turn that up 2 octaves with 16 voices of unison. Let's mix into our multi-band compressor. Can turn up the mids just a little bit, and we don't need all these lows. Throw on some tube distortion. Okay, let's route through a Moog filter. Make it a low 24 with key tracking on. We just want to roll off everything above about 11K. Then I want to use a bunch of this drive on the filter for tone, so I'm just going to turn our levels down and then mix into the filter. Got our relative volumes set. Let's add in some noise. I'm going to use a high-pass chorus noise. I need some release. Let's accentuate the front of the note a little bit. I'm going to turn down our sustain with a quick decay. And then just smooth out our attack a little bit. Anywhere between about 5 and 10 milliseconds should work. Compensate on the master volume. I'm going to add a bit of vibrato in, so I'm going to drag LFO1 to our fine tuning on both oscillators A and B, and put it in trigger mode so it loops, and set the rate to 1/8. And just dial back the amount up here in our matrix tab. Double check that under type, they're both set to bidirectional. And then in our aux source, we can set mod wheel as the aux source, and then just turn the mod wheel all the way up. So you can turn that back down if you want to get rid of the vibrato. Okay, let's add some space. The default reverb settings worked pretty well, so I'm just going to turn up the mix and then roll off some of the lows and highs. So most of our tail is going to be mid-range. Throw in some dimension. We don't need any hyper. I ended up using the dimension much higher than I normally would. I think the reverb smoothed it out nicely, but you can turn the dimension down if you're not comfortable using it that high. Okay, let's check out this voice style lead. It's probably a sample, but we can get pretty close using just Serum. Let's have a listen in solo and check out the MIDI data. In this case, the velocity matters, and I'll get into that once we start designing the patch. All right, let's initialize a fresh preset. I'm going to start by turning oscillator A up by an octave, and then giving it 6 voices of unison. And for a little bit of extra shimmer, I'm going to head over to the global tab, and under stack, just choose 12 1x to transpose those unisons up by an octave. Turn down our detune and blend here. turn down our random phase, and switch our voice into mono. Alright, let's dial in a little bit of release on envelope 1. Then I want to accentuate the front of the note just a bit, so I'm going to turn down our sustain and add a quick decay, which I'm going to straighten out here. Okay, to make this sound more like a vocal, I'm going to use a vowel wavetable. I ended up using ooh, yeah, ooh. I'm going to use envelope 1 to control the wavetable position. And I'm also going to route this through formant filter 3 and use velocity to control the formant so that softer key hits trigger a throatier sound and harder key hits will get an edgier, brighter sound. I'm going to start off by enabling key tracking, turning our cutoff and resonance down. Turn drive up a bit. Then go ahead and drag and drop velocity onto the formant knob. So I basically set this to 57 more or less arbitrarily, and then came down to the MIDI here and set each of the notes so that it had the tone I was looking for. The softest notes get a 48, next highest get a 75, second to loudest get a 91, and the loudest notes get a 127. So right now the velocity is just mapped onto our formant, but the brighter, edgier formants are also a bit thinner and also a bit quieter. I want the volume of each of these notes to stay the same, so I'm also going to map velocity onto our drive knob so that the higher the formant gets, the more drive we get. This helps even out the volume. To make this sound more like a voice, we're going to want to add some air. So I'm going to head over to the noise oscillator and choose air can number 4. Put it in pitch tracking mode and scoot the pitch up just a bit. And I'm going to control the level of the air using envelope 2. So that we get an initial burst of air that then tapers down. Then to make it sound a little bit less clean, a little more organic, I'm just going to use FM from noise on our warp mode for oscillator A here. And just dirty up the front end of the sound just a little bit. Okay, the very top end is getting a little bit harsh, so I'm going to use a Moglo 24 and roll off everything above about 9K. We're getting pretty quiet here, so I'm going to just use the drive knob here to pump our volume up a little. Okay, I want this patch to feel like it's surrounding us, but without a huge sense of space. I want it to sound like it's in a really small room. So I'm going to turn the reverb mix up almost all the way on the Hall algorithm, and then turn the size of the Hall all the way down. And then I'll turn the decay down and carve out some of the low and high frequencies. In the mix, we need a lot less low end. So I'm going to add a low cut. Thin out those low mids. And then take a huge chunk out of the mid-range. We're going to lose a bit of volume doing that, so I'm going to compensate for that using the drive on our filter. All right, spread this out a touch, just a little bit of hyper and dimension, not much. And let's get a little extra depth with some delay. I'm going to use a 8th note setting. And just dial back the mix and feedback. It's not going to be super audible, it just creates a bit more of a sense of space. Okay, in the track, this patch is coming predominantly from the left side. So I'm going to pan oscillator A and the noise oscillator most of the way to the left, but not all the way. There is some ambience coming from both sides. And I'm going to use LFO1 set to trigger so that it loops. 1/4 note rate is fine. I'm going to use that as a very subtle auto pan on oscillator A. So the initial impact of the note, we're getting that from the noise oscillator. I want that to stay on the left, but I want to give oscillator A just a little freedom to move around. Okay, and I think I'm hearing another layer on the track that's using this patch. It's just a simple harmony part filling out the chords, but I figured I might as well add it in here while I was at it. So here's what that MIDI looks like. Okay, both of these patches are going through our FabFilter Pro C for ducking. As discussed in the earlier videos, this ducker is being triggered by a dummy kick with no output. You can see that the main voice lead is just busing to this ducker. It's also going to the main outputs, so it's ducking in parallel, whereas the low voice harmony is outputting through the ducker. So here's what it sounds like with and without the ducker. Doesn't make a lot of sense out of context, but sounds a bit better in the track. Okay, let's put it all together. Alright, you'll find links to these two lead patches in the description below. If you have any comments or feedback or requests, just leave those in the comment section. If you like what we're doing here at Unison, I hope you'll hit subscribe. And if you like these sounds and want to hear more like them, head on over to unison.audio to see what else we've been up to. This has been Peter with Unison, and the track is Stars by Marshmello.